Hi guys, today I'm going to do a review on my 2004 Dodge 2500 4x4 with the Cummins diesel. Mine was a white crew cab one is actually what I had. And it would have been the SLT. It had the black cloth interior in it. And when I bought it, it wasn't very old. It was I bought it in 2010 is when I bought it. And I bought it in December, right before New Year's. And the rancher, he'd come to town to go sell his cattle, and I asked if I could test drive it. And he said that he thought that the fuel filter was plugging up on it because it would go into D-rate mode or whatever. And I was like, okay. So I took it out for a test drive, and sure as heck, every once in a while it would go into D-rate mode or it just wouldn't drive over 45. And I decided to go ahead and buy it anyways because I was like, okay, probably is the fuel filter. And when I did, and how much did I pay for that thing? I think it was like 17,500 is how much I paid for it in 2010. And it had, I believe, 121,000 miles on it at that time. So yeah, going back and forth, probably like 35 miles to the bigger city near us, it would go into that. So I went ahead and I ended up changing out the fuel filters twice on it, and they were pretty expensive, and the problem would still just keep coming back. So I finally bit the bullet and took it to one of our local mechanics here in town, and it ended up costing me $700 to get it fixed. It was the throttle position sensor that went out on it. So I went a few more years with farming with it, and then we went down to visit my grandparents, and they live like 200 or 300 miles away there. It's quite a ways. And somebody noticed that after I shut off the pickup the next morning or whatever, they looked underneath it, and there's a little puddle. They're like, we think there's something wrong with when your radiator hose is like, like it expands when it's hot, and then when your pickup cools down, especially in the cold weather, it shrinks, and a little bit of coolant leaks out or whatever. And I was like, and I didn't think much of it. And on my way home, it sometimes like the heater would be blowing hot air, and sometimes it would be blowing cool air. And I was like, what the heck? And I went ahead and I got home and I threw open the hood on it, and just everything was just soaked inside there, just radiator fluid everywhere. And it was like 10 below at that time. So I couldn't really, I didn't even know where to start to find out where the heck this coolant leak was coming from. So I dropped it off at the mechanic, and of course he had the radiator pressure tester, that you stick into your, pull off your radiator cap, stick it in there, and you pump it up, and then you'll see the water come out from wherever you go and fill up your radiator with that. So he was able to find out that the water pump was bad, and that was $407, I think. So one thing I will say about those Cummins diesels, they are expensive to get worked on compared to a gas pickup. That pickup was amazing though. Like, it had tons of power. I remember one time I got a full pallet worth of bricks, and that thing really sagged in the back end, but it pulled it. And then for pulling the sprayer trailer, I've got a 34-foot triple axle gooseneck trailer, and I was hauling like 2,400 gallons of water out to the field with it, and yeah, it pulled it. It was amazing. Except for one of the neighbors, he ripped up a section line, and I went on that section line with that, and it was so soft, like powder, that the tires won't even actually spin. Normally with those inline 6-cylinders, they got that much power, but yeah, I needed the neighbor to come over with his Power Stroke diesel hook on the front, and the two pickups, both of us were able to pull that trailer out into the field there. So and then another thing that I did is I actually hooked that pickup up to a John Deere 30-foot tandem disc, and that thing's pretty heavy, and I pulled it like over 200 miles with that, up no more than 55 miles an hour, because that eats up your tires so bad, and then can God and get wiggly on you. But yeah, it pulled it. Oh, and then I bought a big summer sprayer, and I pulled that home with it, the big 1,500 gallon with 100-foot booms. So yeah, I thought that was pretty amazing, a little pickup pull and all that. And then I'd also bought a 1,000-gallon Bloomhart sprayer with 90-foot booms and pulled that home too. So yeah, that pickup had so much power, but like I said, when they break down, they are expensive for the parts to fix them and to get them fixed. So the gas mileage when I drive to work with it, just setting the cruise control on hills and everything. I mean, I got 15.6 miles per gallon. But then whenever you're pulling a big load, like I said, pulling those like that 30-foot tandem disc or the sprayer, it always sat on 6 miles per gallon is what I would get with it. And up the hills, it would smoke, but it pulled it. But you probably would. I probably did lose 5 miles per hour, but I didn't really lay into it that much either. I just let cruise control do its thing. Let's see. Oh, and I also bought a Case 580 backhoe, and that was a heavy load behind that too. You could feel it behind there on that triple axle trailer, and then going up the hills, it would smoke, and you probably lose 5 miles per hour. But yeah, I really liked the Cummins diesels back then just because of all that torque. You know, of they'll probably never go as fast as like a Ford diesel or a Chevy diesel, since they are V8s rather than a inline six cylinder. So but yeah, that pickup, it amazingly, it held a lot of its resale value too. Because so 2010 I paid $17,500 for it with 121,000, and after that I just used it for pulling miles, and I went through a brand new set of tires, all 4 of them, every year, just from pulling those heavy loads. It would just take the treads right off down to the bare metal. And I sold it at 149,000 miles, and I got 16,500 for it. So that many miles put on it, and in that many years, and only depreciated $1,000. So yeah, and this was the 14 and a half, or the 2004 and a half. So that people said that it actually had higher horsepower than like the earlier 04s. So that was another good thing about it. So but yeah, if you get the chance to buy one for a decent price and it doesn't have too many miles on it, I would go for it. Oh, and then the transmissions too. I remember one time it was a really narrow approach, and I was pulling all the 24,000 gallons of water, and the trailer dropped into the ditch when the axle did. So the trailer was sitting on its belly, and I didn't have enough to pull it. I had to go get a loader tractor, but I was in a real hurry, so I just kept laying on it. And eventually freaking lights and sirens were going off all over inside that cab there. And across the dash it came transmission oil overheated. And I never did change transmission oil after that, but it still worked good and everything. But I just think back to like my 96 Dodge half-ton with that 360 gas in it. That thing was in the tranny shop all the time. So in which the 02s, all of that older body style, that 94 through 02, they just had bad automatic transmissions in them. But in 03 and up, they put a heavier duty transmission in them. So yeah, I would not be worried about the automatic transmission in the 04s, you guys. So all right, take care.